Hey everybody, Chris here from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Today I'll be showing you how to change out brake pads and rotors. I'll be working on a 2008 Ford Escape, but this process will be similar on other vehicles. Pads and rotors wear out at various rates for various reasons. Pay close attention to the way your brakes feel before and after you change them, so you'll know for sure that you fixed the problem. We also have a video on how you can know it's time to change your brakes in case you're not sure what to look for. As always, before any job, be aware of the manufacturer's specifications for your vehicle. Know how to safely lift and support the vehicle that you're working on. Make sure you're on a flat, stable surface, and chalk the wheels that remain on the ground. For all the details on how to safely lift and support your vehicle, see our video. And if you don't feel completely comfortable lifting your vehicle or completing the brake job yourself, we can refer you to a professional technician in your area. All that being said, if you've got your manufacturer's specs, you're good to go. Here's what you'll do. After removing the wheel, on our model, we'll remove the anti-rattle clip. Then locate and remove your caliper guide bolts. Some models may have guide pins. Check your manufacturer's specifications for the size of the torque or hex tool that you need. These bolts or pins may or may not be exposed. They may have plastic or rubber caps that need to be removed. Sometimes it's difficult to see the head of the pin since it faces the motor. Turning the wheel all the way to the left or right will allow you to see the pin better. After removing the guide bolts or pins, check them for pits and rust. If they have either, they need to be replaced. Rust indicates the protective zinc coating is missing, and rust will spread quickly even if the pin is greased. Have your caliper hanger in place. Remove the caliper and hang it to keep pressure off the brake line. Remove the outside pad. If it's clipped on, you may need a screwdriver. The inside pad will stay on the caliper so that you can use it to compress the piston. Remove the caliper bracket mounting bolts and bracket so the rotor can be removed. In our case, we're replacing the rotor. But if you're reusing the rotor, mark both the rotor and the hub so that you can replace it in the exact same orientation. Your rotor may have a set screw that was used to hold it in place during manufacturing. It can be removed and discarded. It is best to replace the rotors even if they still look good. A new OE quality brake rotor will help your vehicle stop faster and more smoothly, will be easier to install, and will help your brake pads last longer. Use a wire brush to clean rust off the hub and wheel studs so the rotor will seat properly. Inspect the caliper bracket for rust. If it's rusty where the pads and the brake hardware ride, it needs to be replaced. You should clean the caliper bracket with brake cleaner, but don't use a steel brush on it. Wipe the rotor braking surface with brake cleaner, but never use brake cleaner on a painted hat. Install your new rotor and wipe it down one last time with brake cleaner. Brake cleaner will strip paint, so always use it carefully. You can use a lug nut to hold the rotor in place while you reattach the caliper mounting bracket. Grease the contact points on the caliper mounting bracket and reinstall it. Your vehicle's manufacturer will give you torque specifications for your caliper bracket mounting bolts and the caliper guide pins or bolts, and whether or not you should use thread locker. Clean the exposed portion of your caliper piston with brake cleaner on a towel or rag. If the rubber boot is cracked or if there's brake fluid leaking, the caliper needs to be replaced. Attach your one-man bleeder tool and open the bleeder valve by turning it counterclockwise. Use a caliper piston tool or C-clamp to push the piston back into the caliper. Use the old pad between your caliper piston and C-clamp. The old brake pads will protect your caliper piston as you compress it back into the caliper to make room for your new pads, since they'll be thicker than the old pads. The caliper piston should be flush with the caliper housing. Be sure not to pinch the boot, and be sure not to push on the piston itself when you do this. Compress the piston. Old discolored brake fluid and small particles of dirt will be discharged. Again, be careful not to get brake fluid on painted surfaces. It can damage paint. Retighten the bleeder valve. At this point, you can remove the inside brake pad. Check the pads for abnormal wear. If you're replacing your pads with brake best pads, the box has a brake pad wear chart for reference. The chart shows the possible causes for abnormal wear that may need to be addressed. Grease all metal-on-metal contact points, making sure not to put any grease on friction surfaces. If your pads take stainless steel hardware or clips, install them now. Brake hardware is designed to last for the duration of one set of brake pads. The hardware is metal and flexes each time the brakes are applied. Eventually it loses its flexibility, and worn out hardware is the #1 cause of brake noise, so it's always recommended you install new brake hardware when you change pads. If you're not sure which side of the pad goes against the surface of the rotor, look at the old pads for reference. We'll put our new pads in at this point. And now it's time to install your caliper. Lubricate your caliper guide bolts or pins with 100% silicone grease and torque them to manufacturer specifications. Check to make sure the pads are against the rotor and the piston is flush with the caliper. Never force the caliper and pads over the rotor. If the caliper doesn't fit, make sure the caliper piston is flush with the caliper housing. Put any caps back on the caliper guide bolts or pins. If you used a lug nut to hold the rotor in place, you can remove it now. For our application, we'll replace the anti-rattle clip. Put the wheel back in place and hand tighten the lug nuts, making sure the wheel is seated flush against the hub. Lower your vehicle and use a torque wrench to tighten the lug nuts in a star pattern. Make sure they tighten to the manufacturer's specifications. A major cause of pedal pulsation during the first 7,000 miles after a brake job is improperly or unevenly torqued lug nuts. Repeat these steps on the other side. Once the job is complete, before you drive anywhere, be sure to pump your brake pedal several times until you feel the pressure return. It should feel the way it did before the brake job. Check your master cylinder and add fluid as needed. And you're done. To help break in the new components, it's a good idea to test drive your vehicle, slowing it 15 to 20 times from 50 to 30 miles per hour with moderate brake pressure, allowing the brakes to cool in between each slowdown. Try to avoid aggressive stops during the break-in process. Your brakes will probably smell after you've done this, and that's okay. If the odor persists past 500 miles or so, or if you have excessive dust on one wheel, you may have a stuck caliper. Keep in mind that some brake rotors can be reused, but it's highly recommended you have the braking surface thickness measured. Rotors wear like brake pads. Any O'Reilly Auto Parts store can measure your rotors for you, and many of them do rotor resurfacing. If you are reusing the rotor, all the rust from inside the hat needs to be removed with a wire brush to ensure the rotor mounts flush against the hub for smooth braking. You'll find everything you need for this and other jobs at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store or O'ReillyAuto.com. Our DIY videos are designed to help answer questions we get in our stores every day. If you found this one helpful, subscribe to our channel for all the latest. We'll see you again soon.